4. Little by little, Beverly got herself under control again. She knew she had to get out. Beating a retreat was ultimately less dangerous than hanging around. They were absorbed in what they were doing, and even if worst came to worst, she could get a head start. And in the back of her mind, she had also decided that if worst came to terrible, a few shots from the bullseye might discourage them. She was about to begin creeping away when Victor said, "I gotta go, Henry. My dad wants me to help him pick corn this afternoon." "Oh, shit," Henry said. "He'll live." "No, he's mad at me because of what happened the other day." "Fuck him if he can't take a joke." Beverly listened more closely now, suspecting it might be the scuffle which had ended with Eddie's broken arm that they were talking about. "No, I gotta go." "I think his ass hurts," Patrick said. "Watch your mouth, fuckface," Victor said. "It might grow on you." "I got to go, too," Belch said. "Your father want you to pick corn?" Henry asked angrily. This was what might have passed for a jest in Henry's mind. Belch's father was dead. "No, but I got a job delivering the Weekly Shopper. I got to do that tonight." "What's this Weekly Shopper crap?" Henry asked, now sounding upset as well as angry. "It's a job," Belch said with ponderous patience. "I make money." Henry made a disgusted sound, and Beverly risked another peek around the car. Victor and Belch were standing, buckling their belts. Henry and Patrick were still squatting with their pants down. The lighter glinted in Henry's hand. "You're not chickening out, are you?" Henry asked Patrick. "Nope," Patrick said. "You don't have to pick corn or go do some pussy job." "Nope," Patrick said again. "Well," Belch said uncertainly, "see you around, Henry." "Sure," Henry said, and spat near one of Belch's clod-hopping work shoes. Vic and Belch started off together toward the 2 rows of wrecked cars, toward the Studebaker behind which Beverly was crouching. At first she could only cringe, frozen with fear like a rabbit. Then she slid around the left side of the Studebaker and backed down the gap between it and the battered doorless Ford next to it. For a moment she paused, looking from side to side, hearing them approach. She hesitated, her mouth cottony dry, her back itchy with sweat. A part of her mind was numbly wondering how she'd look in a cast like Eddie's with the loser's name signed on it. Then she dived into the Ford on the passenger side. She curled up on the filthy floor mat, making herself as small as possible. It was boiling hot inside the junked-out Ford, and it smelled so thickly of dust, rotting upholstery, and elderly rat crap that she had to struggle grimly to keep from sneezing or coughing. She heard Belch and Victor pass close by, talking in low voices. Then they were gone. She sneezed 3 times, quickly and quietly, into her cupped hands. She supposed she could go now if she was careful. The best way to do it would be to shift over to the driver's side of the Ford, sneak back to the aisle, and then just do a fade. She believed she could manage it, but the shock of almost being discovered had robbed her of her courage, at least for the time being. She felt safer here in the Ford. And maybe now that Victor and Belch had gone, the other 2 would also go soon. Then she could go back to the clubhouse. She had lost all interest in target shooting. Also, she had to pee. "Come on," she thought. "Come on, hurry up and go, hurry up and go. Police!" A moment later, she heard Patrick roar with mixed laughter and pain. 6 feet, Henry bellowed. "Just like a fucking blowtorch, swear to God." Silence then for a while. Sweat trickling down her back. The sun beating through the Ford's cracked windshield on the nape of her neck. Heaviness in her bladder. Henry bellowed so loud that Beverly, who had been close to dozing in spite of her discomfort, almost cried out herself. "Damn it, Hockstetter, you burned my frigging ass. What are you doing with that lighter?" 10 feet, Patrick giggled. Just the sound of it made Bev feel cold and revolted, as if she had seen a worm squirm its way out of her salad. 10 feet if it was an inch, Henry. Bright blue. 10 feet if it was an inch. Swear to God. "Give me that," Henry grunted. Come on, you stupid nicks. Go, get out." When Patrick spoke again, his voice was so low Bev could barely hear it. If there had been the slightest breath of wind on the air that baking afternoon, she would not have done. "Let me show you something," Patrick said. "What?" Henry asked. "Just something." Patrick paused. "It feels good." "What?" Henry asked again. Then there was silence. "I don't want to look. I don't want to see what they're doing now. And besides, they might see me. In fact, they probably will because you've used up all your luck today, girlie-o. So just stay right here. No peeking." But her curiosity had overcome her good sense. There was something strange in that silence, something a little bit scary. She raised her head inch by inch until she could look through the Ford's cracked, cloudy windshield. She needn't have worried about being seen. Both of the boys were concentrating on what Patrick was doing. She didn't understand what she was seeing, but she knew it was nasty. Not that she would have expected anything else from Patrick, who was just so weird. He had one hand between Henry's thighs and one hand between his own. One hand was flogging Henry's thing gently. With his other hand, Patrick was rubbing his own. Except he wasn't exactly rubbing it. He was kind of squoozing it, pulling it, letting it flop back down. What is he doing? Beverly wondered, dismayed. She didn't know, not for sure, but it scared her. She didn't think she had been this scared since the blood had vomited out of the bathroom drain and splattered all over everything. Some deep part of her cried out that if they discovered she had seen this, whatever it was, they might do more than hurt her. They might actually kill her. Still, she couldn't look away. She saw that Patrick's thing had gotten a little longer, but not much. It still dangled between his legs like a snake with no backbone. Henry's, however, had grown amazingly. It stood up stiff and hard, almost poking his belly button. Patrick's hand went up and down, sometimes pausing to squeeze, sometimes tickling that odd heavy sack under Henry's thing. Those are his balls, Beverly thought. Do boys have to go around with those all the time? God, I go crazy. Another part of her mind then whispered, Bill has those. On its own, her mind visualized her holding them, cupping them in her hand, testing their texture, and that hot feeling raced through her again, sparking off a furious blush. Henry stared at Patrick's hand as if hypnotized. His lighter lay on the rocky scree beside him, reflecting hot afternoon sun. "Want me to put it in my mouth?" Patrick asked. His big livery lips smiled complacently. "Huh?" Henry asked, as if startled from some deep dream. "I'll put it in my mouth if you want. I don't Henry's hand flashed out, half-curled, not quite a fist. Patrick was knocked sprawling. His head thudded on the gravel. Beverly dived down again, her heart crashing in her chest, her teeth locked against a little whimpering moan. After knocking Patrick down, Henry had turned, and for a moment, just before she dropped back into her little huddled ball on the passenger side of the drive shaft hump, it seemed that her eyes and Henry's had locked. "Please, God, the sun was in his eyes," she prayed. "Please, God, I'm sorry I peeked. Please, God." There was an agonizing pause then. Her white blouse was plastered to her body with sweat. Droplets like seed pearls gleamed on her tanned arms. Her bladder throbbed painfully. She felt that very soon she would wet her pants. She waited for Henry's furious, crazy face to appear in the opening where the Ford's passenger door had been, sure it was going to happen. How could he have missed seeing her? He would drag her out and hurt her. He would... A new and even more terrible thought now occurred to her, and once again she had to engage in a painful, crampy struggle to keep from wetting her pants. Suppose he did something to her with his thing. Suppose he wanted her to put it in her somewhere. She knew where it was supposed to go, all right. It seemed that knowledge had suddenly sprung into her mind full-blown. She thought that if Henry tried to put his thing in her, she would go crazy. "Please, no, please, God, don't let him have seen me, please, okay?" Then Henry spoke, and to her growing horror, his voice was coming from someplace much closer. "I don't go for that queer stuff." From farther off, Patrick's voice. "You liked it." "I didn't like it," Henry shouted, "and if you tell anyone I did, I'll kill you, you fucking little pansy." "You got a boner," Patrick said. He sounded like he was smiling. As much as she feared Henry Bowers, the smile would not have surprised Beverly. Patrick was crazy, crazier than Henry maybe, and people that crazy weren't afraid of anything. "I saw it." Footsteps crunched over the gravel, closer and closer. Beverly looked up, her eyes bulging. Through the Ford's old windshield she could now see the back of Henry's head. He was looking toward Patrick now, but if he turned around... "If you tell anyone, I'll say you're a cocksucker," Henry said. "Then I'll kill you." "You don't scare me, Henry," Patrick said and giggled. "But I might not tell if you gave me $1. Henry shifted restlessly. He turned slightly. Beverly could now see 1/4 of his profile instead of just the back of his head. Please, God," she begged incoherently, and her bladder throbbed more strongly. "If you tell," Henry said, his voice low and deliberate,